Well, this was raised in Laura's show yesterday, but do you think Kevin Rudd has been a roadblock for the Prime Minister, given those things that he said in the past?
Look, I don't think so. I mean, it's hard for me to judge exactly what Kevin's doing. I don't have access to his diary or phone calls, etc. I'll leave that to others who have that experience. But in my view, if the Prime Minister wanted to meet with Donald Trump, he could do that. He could do it himself. The buck stops with the Prime Minister on things like this. And as everybody says who knows or works with Donald Trump, personal connections are very important, as they are for almost all world leaders. So there's no substitute for the ambassador having these conversations or taking up the slack. The slack has got to be taken up by the Prime Minister. He's earning the big bucks. Get on the phone, have a chat with Donald and organise a time to go and see him. It is not that difficult, but you can only really draw the conclusion that the Prime Minister is still, as he said a few years ago, he's scared of Donald Trump.
Well, he's having more luck with Xi Jinping.
Exactly. Exactly, Peter. And our relationship with China is important too, and don't begrudge him going to Beijing to have those conversations. But it is not a great look, in my view, that as it stands, the Prime Minister is going to go to Beijing before he goes to Washington, D.C. after the President Trump was elected. I worry here now, given the force with which Donald Trump approached the NATO discussions a few weeks ago. What's going to happen to Australia when he works out that our government has been very dismissive about reasonable requests to lift our defence spending, on reasonable requests to work with the United States to improve our industrial supply chains? What will be the reaction of Donald Trump then? As Greg Sheridan wrote on the weekend very eloquently, perhaps Anthony Albanese is just lucky that Donald Trump probably doesn't know who he is.
Got to get your reaction to Chris Bowen yesterday, Matt. So Labor confirming now it's considering a gas reservation plan for the East Coast after initially rejecting your plan at the election. Mr Bowen says this would be different because it would not have an impact on export contracts that have already been signed with foreign customers.
Look, I welcome these developments, but as you've hinted at there, this reservation scheme will only apply to new projects, new gas projects, and obviously then for Australians to get more gas, there has to be new gas projects. And the problem is, under this government's watch, after 3 years, there's been very few new gas projects. They've put in the most draconian restrictions on gas sales that we've ever seen, something worthy of a South American country that lets the government set their price, even their quantity they produce. It's incredibly restrictive and therefore not surprising we haven't seen large amounts of gas investment. They've sat on their heels on the Narrabri project in New South Wales, which could supply half of New South Wales' gas needs, and nothing is happening. Now, as I say, I welcome Chris Bowen's newfound love for gas, because the last 3 years he's talked down gas and dismissed the need for anything but solar panels, wind and batteries, and hydrogen. They don't talk about that much anymore, but that too. So I welcome all of this, but it's time to get moving, not talking, and approve these projects. I announced a very similar scheme in my last days as Resources Minister in January 2020. You can look it up. Just before COVID, I announced we'd do exactly this. But as I say, you need new gas for a new gas reservation scheme to actually work.
All right, Matt, we're out of time, but we'll leave it there. We'll talk to you again soon.